Okay, boys and girls, we're going to pick up just where we left off yesterday. We're going to be reading pages 36 and 37 of our book, A Child's Introduction to African American History. This first section is titled Super Lawyers. Remember, we're reading 2 pages and we want to give ourselves time to read. So we're going to give ourselves 10 minutes, but we're also going to time ourselves and we're going to work on fluency, which is how easily and accurately we are able to read. Smooth, let's do it smoothly. Here we go. In 1940, the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund, LDF, was formed with Thurgood Marshall in charge. The LDF continued the legal fight for civil rights that the NAACP had started years earlier. Marshall and his team of gifted lawyers would eventually win several important cases and move the country closer to full equality. One of their victories, helped Black citizens buy homes in neighborhoods that had used unfair practices to keep them out. In another important case, the LDF persuaded the Supreme Court to rule against graduate schools that had refused to admit Black students. Each LDF victory brought the High Court closer to deciding that the country's Jim Crow policy of separate but equal was wrong. Double 5. Early in 1942, the Pittsburgh Courier encouraged African American support for the war effort. The paper called its campaign Double 5. The slogan, its editors explained, represented the true battle cry of colored America. They encouraged Black citizens to fight for 2 victories: triumph over the nation's enemies abroad and defeat of racism and discrimination here at home. The Double 4 campaign became very popular and lasted more than a year. Entertainers and athletes lent their support to the effort. The Courier had over 200,000 readers, more than any other Black newspaper. Soon, publications joined in the campaign long before the war. African Americans had learned to rely on Black newspapers. They reported news Blacks could trust and offered opinions that they couldn't find anywhere else. The Courier, the Chicago Defender, the Baltimore Americas, the Philadelphia Tribune, and other papers worked hard to serve the interests of their readers. The measure of a country's greatest is its ability to retain compassion in times of crisis. Thurgood Marshall. The measure of a country's greatness is its ability to retain compassion in times of crisis by Thurgood Marshall. All right, our last page. How are we doing? I'm not seeming to be doing too great today. I'm trying to hold my phone. I'm sorry that it's moving, but let's continue on. If you mess up, just correct yourself and keep moving. That's how you do it. Get to know Mildred Hemmons Carter. Mildred Hemmons Carter was the first Black female pilot in the state of Alabama. She received her license in 1941 when she was 19. The next year, she became the first female pilot to join the state Civil Air Patrol Squadron in 1942. But she was never called to go on patrol. Next, she applied to join the Women Air Force Service Pilots, WASP. Women weren't allowed to fly combat planes, but WASPs were assigned to transport planes to airfields from the factories where they were made. Soon she received a brief letter in the mail. The U.S. government does not have planes at this time to include colored female pilots in the WASPs. Carter went on to serve her country anyway. She joined the Tuskegee Airmen as a member of the ground crew, the first civilian, non-military person hired. Her first job was to bulldoze trees to make room for the airfield in 2011. 70 years after she first earned her license, she was made an honorary member of the WASPs. Red Tails. When America entered World War II in 1944, African Americans volunteered for duty, just as they had in every war before then. 1 million black men and more than 6,000 black women served in the wartime forces, which were still segregated. Many of them performed student duties and low-level tasks, such as cooking and cleaning. When the first black military pilots trained at an airfield at Tuskegee University in Alabama, many people thought they would fail. A 1925 Army report had concluded that black men weren't smart enough or brave enough to fly airplanes. The Tuskegee Airmen proved them wrong. Often called red tails because of the marking of their planes, the 4 squadrons of the 332nd Fighter Group became one of the Army's most decorated units. They became so successful at leading bomber planes through enemy fire that pilots began to request to work with them specifically. Not all of the airmen were aviators. The group also included the men and women working on the ground to make sure the operations ran smoothly. Desegregating the Army. In 1948, A. Philip Randolph pressured President Harry Truman to integrate the armed forces. Other black leaders supported Randolph's position. Truman responded by issuing an executive order ending segregation in the military. The Navy and Air Force responded promptly, but the Army hesitated until 1950 when the Korean War made the need for soldiers so great, the Army was forced to comply. And that is the end of our reading for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow, and we will be reading pages 37 and 38. And this is what the pages look like. We will be reading about Thomas Dorsey, Gwendolyn Brooks, Marian Anderson, a Hollywood first, Hattie McDaniel, Ralph Ellison, Jacob Lawrence, and more. So stay tuned tomorrow. And let me tell you this one thing. I had a little struggle today, didn't I? I didn't read too fluent. Some of my words were misread. At times, it seems like I couldn't find my place. I'm holding my phone as I'm holding my glasses because one side of my glasses is broke. My readers, I need to buy some more. But I'm telling you these things not because I have to, but I'm telling you these things because sometimes things are not easy for different reasons for different people. Today, that just happened to be a circumstance. And I don't normally have to struggle reading, but that's why I struggle today. So I just want to encourage you, whatever it is that may be causing you to struggle reading some days your mind might be elsewhere. It may be hard for you to focus on reading. You may be in class or you may be somewhere, you may be thinking about something else, what you're going to do, maybe what you're going to eat. You may be hungry. There are a lot of different factors that may cause someone to not perform as well as they do on other days. But don't let that stop you. Don't let that stop you. You just keep on going, and tomorrow is a new day. So be encouraged. Thank you so much, and look forward to tomorrow's read. Bye-bye.